Everybody, welcome to Behind the Bar. I'm your host, Danny Johnson, where we interview your favorite dry bar comedians. Today, we got the very funny Greg Vaccariello with us
Yeah.
right here. His special is Everything Hurts. Hey,
Everything hurts.
so here's here's why I'm super excited to have you for many reasons. They're all totally selfish. One, you're a fellow New Yorker, right?
Right.
And
Right.
anytime I talk to somebody from New York, my accent comes back, and I'm excited about that. And then two, you remind me of an uncle, and one of my favorite uncles who I credit with a small influence on my humor growing up as a kid. So I feel
Oh,
like I'm talking to family
oh, nice.
when I talk to you. So
Oh, cool. That's a compliment. Thank you.
yeah. So where are you? You're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Where are you right now?
We are we left New Jersey on Sunday. I forget what day it is. Today's Tuesday. Okay. We left New Jersey on Sunday. We'll be in the Bahamas. Today's 2 days at sea. We'll be in the Bahamas tomorrow morning.
Okay, and no
So
show
we'll
today.
spend 2 days there and then back up to New Jersey.
It's easy. That's an easy run. It looks like.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I'm not trying to look out the windows if I can see anything, which I can't. But we're probably midway down Florida by now, and then they'll shoot
Okay.
out east and hit the Bahamas by tomorrow.
Nice. Nice. How do you like doing the ships?
I love it. I mean, obviously, aside from having to be away so much, but I love it. I mean, and then once you get used to it and you know how to work it, you know, you just get used to it. It's what you do. I still do my show. I mean, like anything else, when if if you go to a place out of town,
Yeah.
you try to find things about that place that maybe you could write a couple quick jokes about to open up your show to just do an icebreaker.
Sure. Yeah.
And then, that's what you do with the ship. And then I like to just move into my act, man. I just do my show.
Yeah. It's typically more than one comic on a ship too, right? Sometimes.
It depends on the ships. Like for Royal Caribbean, their really big ships have two comedians.
Okay.
They have a comedy club, and then you do one or two shows in the theater. But in the comedy club, you do 20 minutes each. You do, 20 to 25 each, and you get out of there. And then, but on the ship that I'm on now, which is a little bit smaller than that, I'm just in the theater. I'll just do theater shows.
And that's 30 minute set.
It all depends on the cruise director
Oh,
and
wow.
what they want. Like I'll do 3 shows this week. I'll
Right.
do what they call a welcome aboard. I'll do a farewell. And in the middle, I do like a 45-minute late night adult show, my regular club act.
Right. Right. And then you can't from what I hear, you can't repeat jokes.
Well, it's the same people. So you don't want to repeat jokes. And,
Right.
you, you know, um, that can be a challenge to some people. Like sometimes on the big ships, we have a comedy club, you know, you can't, like, you'll do 14, 15 shows in the week.
Wow.
So you want to make sure you don't stray too much because you might start adding jokes a couple times that you really want to save for your last big theater show when everybody's there.
Right.
So you don't want to repeat stuff if you can help it. So it helps you to keep track
Yeah.
of, like, here's my set for the club, here's my set for the theater. Nothing overlaps.
Yeah. A buddy of mine does ships quite often, and he has these set lists. Then he titles
Yeah,
them, whatever. My
yeah,
family set, my whatever.
yeah, yeah. And as no matter how long you do it, like I have the same things. I got over there. On my bed, I've got probably 40 or 50 sheets of paper dated with the ship name and whether it was welcome aboard, late night adult show, farewell show. Sometimes they have you come on and go, look, man, I need you to do 45 minutes squeaky clean. Okay, that's not the norm, but maybe something happened. Some other entertainer got sick. They need you to go in and do that spot at 8 and 10. You
Yeah.
got to just be squeaky clean, and you have to be able to adjust to it. So
And
I
you go
actually
up
have
cold
certain,
too, right? There's no opener. You just get announced. Here's your comedian. Go.
yeah. The CD goes out. They might have something to say to the people about something. Tomorrow we're going to be in Nassau. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, you ready for a comedy? Here's Greg back, and then boom, out I go.
Right.
So I've got some parts of my act that I definitely do on my late night adult show or my club. If I'm in a comedy club, no problem.
Right.
But I like them. And, sometimes you got to do all squeaky clean the whole week. It's like 15 welcome aboard, 15 farewell, 45-minute headlining spot at 8 o'clock. That's a lot of time to be squeaky clean when you're used to working clubs. So
It's a
I've
lot of
adjusted.
tracking on your end too. A lot of you got to track all that. What joke did you do already?
Absolutely. You do. And so I've got some of my jokes that I do, some bits that I do that I'll just say cleaned up for the family friendly show.
Right.
They're not as hard hitting, but you do them.
Yeah.
And
But
they've been
sometimes you got
approved.
kids in the show, right? Don't you have kids sometimes in the showroom?
When you do the welcome aboard and the farewell in the theater, kids, it's all ages.
Wow.
And if you get told, guess what? Instead of doing a late night adult show, we need you at 7:30, 8 o'clock to do a family friendly 45 minutes. Yeah, there are kids there. And kids in comedy never mix. It never works.
No.
And then tell you got to do 45 minutes. And you got kids up front. Hi, hi. You're
Yeah.
like,
Shut up.
yeah, which you can't say.
Right, because you got to be you're part of the experience. You're part of the.
Hey, kids. Yeah. Yeah. But most of that rarely happens. I mean, when you do the welcome board and farewell, yes, there could be kids there, but for the most part, you do your late night adult show. It's just like being in a club.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into my first question about your special, which I watched last night. I love it. Did you that was filmed in during COVID or around COVID?
It was.
I could tell
Yeah.
the audience was a little like if you look at specials before that and then even some more recent, you can actually see the crowd how close they are to the comedian to the stage, and it's more, spread out. So that must have been a little tougher on you.
Well, yes, definitely, and because you hear from people who have done it, it's going to be packed
Yeah.
up on the top, a standing room, all it's going to be jammed. And of course, it was during COVID, I think in October.
Right.
And so I got the gig, I got it. And then I'm thinking, man, I've only been on stage a handful of times in 6 months.
Right.
Because we were just, as you know, locked down. And I mean, like I was doing literally, we had comics and we'd get together at each other at a friend's house and do shows in his garage just for other comedians,
Yeah.
just to do our acts.
Yeah.
And even if it was like 10 minutes, try something new, help each other write.
Yeah.
Just to get on stage, man, because we had to do something. So going into to the dry bar, I really hadn't done a show in 6 months. And you know what that's like, man. The timing is off. You forget those little subtle things that you might say, or whatever the case is. That
little taglines, stuff like that you kind of cap a joke off with.
Exactly.
So with all the sheets of paper you got on your bed and all the sets you do, how do you got 25, 30 minutes to fill for your dry bar. How do you determine what you're going to use for your set? I mean,
well, I made it. They wanted everything had to be, as you know, clean and family, all that kind of stuff. So I was able to eliminate about 90% of my act for that. But I think I just went through, various show lists of when I had to be clean on ships and pulled stuff out.
Yeah.
And did that. And I can't remember, Danny, if I did exactly the same set for both of the shows because you do two tapings.
Right.
Or whether I mixed it up a little bit to see if you might want to edit something. I do very distinctly remember feeling much more comfortable on the second show.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The ice is
just
broken.
Done the show.
Yeah.
So it felt looser to me. I felt better. But as far as what material did I do? I think I just went through my set lists of shows I've done that where I had to be clean
Yeah, yeah.
and followed that guideline.
And that's hard too, because in your act, those jokes may be in all different places within your hour, and now you got to go from here to here to, put it all together into one set. That's tough to,
Yeah, you want to
especially,
make it look smooth,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and all that, and you go, oh, I'm doing. Let's say, I know I don't remember which one I was doing a certain bit, and it's clean, and then but there's one part of it that is dirty or adult.
right, right,
Oh, I gotta knock that part out. And
right.
that's really a good laugh, but
Yeah, especially when you're doing a bit that's like building towards that, and you're like,
yeah,
I can't do that, and you kind of
yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of,
Or you can't do the callback that would kill, but you just can't do the callback 10 minutes later because the callback is a little adult,
right,
and
right.
then.
I was going to ask, very silly of me to ask if this was a high pressure situation. You're going to be filmed, but for those that don't know, you have been on King of Queens, Paul, Blart Mall Cop,
Yeah,
uh, The Law and Orders, my favorite,
right, right,
SVU, and Criminal Intent. Um,
yeah.
that's got to be the ultimate, feeling nervous over.
Well, it's a thing, Danny, where if I screw up like a comedy taping, that's just me. Maybe we can
Yeah,
redo whatever. But when you're on the set of a major television show or a
yeah,
major movie, you got to bring it, man.
yeah,
You have to know your lines. You have to hit your mark. It's no joke.
yeah,
Um, you don't want to be the one where they go cut. I
yeah,
could have like you got to turn this way. Remember? Okay. Because then you've got these stars looking at you like, what are you, an amateur?
yeah, yeah. Because you had in
I,
the Mall Cop movie, you have a scene with Kevin James where you're
yeah.
speaking to him, and I can't imagine the pressure you felt to get your line right.
You know, when I started out doing comedy, I started out with Kevin.
Okay.
And of course, he just skyrocketed and all that. So in a weird way, I was just very comfortable.
Yeah.
And he's great to work with and wants everyone to be comfortable. Not that
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you can screw up all the time. It just means like relax. We're this should be fun in addition to being work.
Yeah.
So in a way, I was comfortable with him. I drove to many open mics with him. We did gigs together. It was just kind of like,
Wow.
okay. Years later, he's obviously a superstar. But it's a very even when I was on the King of Queens, it was he has a very professional, relaxed environment.
Yeah.
So he wants you to do well because if you do well, the movie does well. The show, it's
Yeah.
better. So in that regard, yes, there's pressure. It's all of a sudden it's got the boom mics, the lighting guys, there's the action. We're doing it, and so yeah, there's the pressure of it. But with Kevin, it's just have a good time. We got this. He doesn't act like
Yeah.
anything other than someone that you're working with.
I think it's always nice to not, I haven't done my only experience behind the camera is on commercials. I've done short films, but mostly commercials. And I find too, not if the stars are nice, that's great and they're comforting, but the director should really I've been on both ends. They either provide a really open, comfortable environment or they're terrifying people and you're so skittish that you'd mess up because of that. So I don't think some of the directors realize like if you create a creative environment that's fun, professional, and on point, that the actors will feel more comfortable too.
I I couldn't agree more. That's exactly right. Like when I did the King of Queens, the director was phenomenal, just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Um, I've done other projects, one in particular where I almost quit acting, and the director was so horrific and badgering, and it was the first television show I've ever done. If that was today, I'd say something like, "You can't
Right.
talk to me like that. You
Right.
just can't
Right.
talk to me like that."
as a person,
Okay.
but, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we did a rehearsal. He said, "Perfect, let's go. Action." We go into the scene, and he must have stopped me. I'm not lying, 30 times.
Wow.
And it was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience.
Yeah.
And um, and then at the end of it, he went, "Perfect, you did it great." It was an hour and a half to shoot a scene that shouldn't have taken an hour. It should have taken 5 minutes. Seriously, like
Wow.
start to finish, maybe do it again just to have another one in the can, or let's try this time, that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Safety shot.
He just badgered me, badgered me, badgered me. And I was kind of, well, not kind of, I was shocked. It was years ago. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, if it was today, I would have just called him aside, like, dude, what's your problem, man? I'm doing this exactly the way we did in rehearsal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the audition. That's how I got the position.
I mean, the whole thing, Yeah, I'm doing what I was. Okay, you want to adjust? Fine. You're
Yeah.
the director. I'll adjust. I've made adjustments before, but you can't badger me. Like he got to the point where he was so mad at me, he wouldn't even talk to me anymore.
Right.
He said to his assistant director, "Tell him I said, like, but loud enough that I could hear it.
Ugh.
Tell him I said this." And there were major stars on the show. There were major people on the show. And after we were done, he goes, "That was perfect." He came up to me, he almost hugged me. "Greg, that was incredible." I'm looking at him like I wanted to punch him in the face.
Right.
He was a horrible person.
Yeah.
He goes, "You know what? That was so good. I want to give you more lines." And I said, "I think I'm the only actor in the history of acting who said, 'No, thank you. I don't want more lines. I want to go home.'"
Right.
But obviously I did it.
Yeah.
And he gave me more lines.
Yeah.
I did everything he wanted me to do. It was so childish, and he had me moving, and it was just the oddest
Yeah.
thing. And
This was for which one? Was this for a Law and Order, or was this for a?
no. I won't even say the name of the show, but it was not
All
Law.
right.
Law
All
and
right.
Order was they were always great.
Yeah.
The actors, the directors. I mean, you talk about professional and
Yeah.
nice, and yeah, no doubt about it.
I remember. I don't know that I'm a terrible actor, but I remember being in a commercial, and the scene is it's a commercial for this air conditioning company, and their mascot is a superhero dressed up like Deadpool and Superman together. And he's walking towards me, and they didn't say me. They just said, "Just stand there," and he's going to approach you, and then we're cutting. And so they did it once, and I see the director goes cut, and he comes over to me, and he goes, "Hey, you're happy to see him?" Because I guess my face was just like, he's like, "You're happy to see him. How about you give us a little?" I was like, "All right, all right." I didn't know. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
So that kind of soft direction is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's their job.
Yeah.
If they say they could tell you to do it 5 different ways.
Yeah.
You're happy to assume you're over the top excited, or you're sad, or you're apprehensive, whatever it is. But if they want you to be happy and don't tell you,
Yeah.
and they say just stand over there and he's going to walk up to you, then you just stand there. Because if you went like, "Hey," they'd be like, "Well, did we tell you to be happy? We told you to stand there." Like no
Right.
matter
Right.
what you do. So it's nice to have a director like that.
Yeah.
Just a little, like you said, the soft direction. Yeah, just try this. Okay.
Yeah. I tease Vinny. You're a co-host of a podcast called New Bits with Vinny and Vac.
Yeah.
And Vinny, I've known Vinny for so long. I'm watching a Stallone movie on Amazon one night a couple months ago, and it's a superhero movie. Never made it to the theaters, but I'm a superhero movie guy. And
Yeah.
then they show this building, and it pans up, and it's Vinny's the landlord speaking to one of the tenants. I text him right away. I'm like, "Vinny, how does everyone not know you're in a Stallone film in your career?" I mean, this is a huge. I know he didn't have a scene with Stallone, but
Right.
that would be one of the first things I mentioned, or it's on my website or something.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,"
absolutely.
I was like, "I thought everybody knew." I'm like, "No,
Ah,
nobody know."
you know, uh, yeah, I would do that too. I would say, "Hey, I'm Greg Vaccariello. I was in a Stallone movie. Nice to meet you." Like that would be part of my name.
Right. I remember saying that to Billy Gardell when he first, Billy,
Yeah.
Yeah, when he first started getting a lot of bit parts in Yes Dear and Lucky.
Yeah.
And then what was that show? It wasn't a reality show, but it was like Eva Longoria was in it. And anyway, he had a scene where he fell on the bed and she fell on top of him. And I'm like, Billy, that would be the first thing out of my mouth whenever I
Yeah.
talk to somebody.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Or if I was in that scene, I'd be like, God, I don't like the way that looked. Maybe we should do that again.
Let's do it. Let's keep doing it again, Eve. I need more from you, Eva. Yeah.
I need you to sink in. I need you to sink in.
That's funny. I don't know if he did that. I know. I think another show you're talking about, and I just can't.
Yeah, it's like one of those 90210 kind of shows.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big hit, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got to go on the set of Yes Dear. I got when I went out to LA years ago when Billy was on Yes Dear. And he took us on, me and my buddy, on the set. That was a cool experience. Frank Stallone was on the show
Oh,
that week.
oh wow.
It's kind of cool. So I sort of met Sly Stallone, but Frank.
Sort of. It's all right. His brother was a singer, right?
Dude, one of the jokes in your act took me back. So you talk a little bit about the rotary phone, right?
Yeah.
And it immediately reminded me of my last visit to Jersey to see my dad and my stepmother. This is maybe, I don't know how many years, 4 or 5 years ago. They still have a rotary phone on the wall.
Oh my God.
And
He won't give in, will he?
no, I took a picture of it. And what it also reminded me of was I remember how excited my parents were to move from the rotary phone to their first cordless phone. And it was huge, it's a huge thing. And it had the metal antenna you had to pull.
Yeah.
Like they're calling in an airstrike from above. And then it would like cut in and out, and you'd pick up the neighbor's conversation sometimes, or a
Yeah.
baby monitor and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm really
I know. My parents hung on to their rotary phone. I think when my dad died, we got rid of it, and then my mother we bought a push button. So yeah, but those things, it's funny though, Danny. Like I'll talk about a rotary phone, like on the Family Friendly show, and there'll
Yeah.
be kids that go, "Do you kids know what that is?" And they go, "What?" They've
Right.
not a clue.
Right.
And if a kid does say yes, I'm like, how do you know what a rotary phone is? Like, was it a museum or like what how'd you Nickelodeon? Like, did you see some
Right.
show?
Right.
Because they have no idea. And it's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not their fault at all. They're kids. They only know the cell phone.
Yeah.
That's
And
all they know.
my son is 17, and there's a lot of he just doesn't understand when I tell him that we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
It didn't exist. You couldn't Google an answer or talk into your phone and get the weather, or you just you had to go to the library to do work for school. And he's like, what are you talking? Like, how'd you watch your TV shows? I'm like, well, I had a 13-inch black and white TV until I was 16. Then I got a color TV. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't understand any. He's like, so if you missed the show that week, you missed it? I'm like, that's it. You don't get to, there's no recording it, or eventually you can do the VCR, like record, but
yeah,
he's blown away by it. He doesn't understand it.
they don't get it. No, they have no idea. But it's like when we were kids, our parents said the same things to us.
Yeah.
You kids in your whatever, clean clothes. I mean, my parents grew up in a depression. You know what I mean?
Your kids in your clean clothes.
I wasn't working when I was 8, so my father couldn't relate to me.
Yeah. I got huge. I remember the first time my mom blew up about money, really in a sense that let me know I didn't understand money, was I went to 2 years at SUNY Farmingdale to start my college career. And I got offered a $250 scholarship from some grant or something I applied for. And I had to do this big packet and I was like, well, it's only $250. And my mom's like, just went off. I had no concept.
Yeah.
At 17.
Do you think, okay, so when you were 17, you said you had no concept of money and all that. Do you think you had more of a concept than your 17-year-old son has now? Or
I think so, because I worked since I was 12 and has not consistently.
Yeah.
And my parents I'm the oldest of 5. So if you wanted something, you typically had to buy it. If I wanted for my first car, I had to have, I remember it was $1,750. If I wanted to buy my dad's 83 Sentra for 250 bucks, I could do that. I mean, he could have gotten a couple grand, but for 250 bucks, if I want to buy that car, I have to have 1750 plus 250 to hand to them for 1 year of insurance and the car, and then you get the car. So from that point on, I start putting away money and kind of see it build to meet that number. So it may be a little bit more understanding.
Yeah.
But my son has no idea. Like,
not a clue.
No, I'm trying to teach him every single day. I got my HOA fees and the bill in the mail today. He's like, "Is this a lot?" I'm like, "It's not a lot, but it's not. It's for the year and this and that." He doesn't. No concept.
No
20
concept.
bucks on dinner every other night. He's asking me for. I'm like, no. I just cooked dinner.
Yeah.
We sound like a bunch of old cranky New York men.
We do because we are. That's all.
Right. Like, we do because we are.
Like, let's not even try to avoid it. That is who we are, Danny.
I find I'm not a confrontational person in public, but I do find that as I get older, my tolerance is less and less. But I do avoid it. I can't. That stuff annoys me so much that I don't even address it. I avoid it altogether, and I don't need that in my life because I'll get all the. You ever heard of agita? Did your parents use that?
Dude, absolutely. I do a whole thing called things that give me agita.
Oh, my parents used to say that.
And Facebook, yeah.
People don't. I've said it before, and people are like, "What? What is that?" Agita. You give me agita, and it's in your. I went to the doctor. I'm sitting in the doctor's waiting room, and this guy across from me is looking the other way towards the TV, and I can see him, and it's pitch quiet. And he's got a piece of hard candy in his mouth, and he's rattling it around in his mouth on his teeth. Just to the point, he did it for so long, I thought he was joking, like pranking me. And I'm staring a hole in his head. I wanted to videotape it, but I'm like, this is somebody's grandfather. He's 80.
Yeah.
But I mean, he literally did it for almost 5 minutes, and that's a long time.
Yeah.
And finally, thank God I got called and then they take my blood pressure in the back. Like, it's a little high. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. That is such an old man thing.
Yeah.
Or old lady thing.
Like a Werther's original or something.
Oh, God. I've always told people, if you ever see me reach for a bag of Werther's original in the grocery store, I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've hit the turning point, whatever they call it, tipping point, and it's over. So just take me out back, one bullet to the back of the head, drop. Right. I don't want to know what's it. I'm done. If I start reaching for Werther's originals, it's over.
Do you find as you get older, do you find too, like when people start talking about plans, you're already mentally checked out, like
completely checked out?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you traveling as much with the cruise ships, but even if you weren't, as a comic, with someone started talking about, oh, we're gonna meet here and then we're gonna go away for the night, we're gonna do this, I'm like,
yeah, I'm kind of done.
Yeah, I'm home. I'll be home.
I'll be home now. Like when I was younger, starting out in comedy, it's like it wasn't unusual to do a midnight show.
Right.
Like whatever, 8, 10, and 12. And you're like, oh, cool. I'll get home at 3, not a big deal.
Right.
Now I'm like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can we do like 7 and 9 and not do it all? I mean, we do 3 shows sometimes on the ships.
Yeah.
And the next day you're just kind of in a fog.
Yeah.
Wow. The late show's at 11:30. I should have been kind of in bed by then.
Because I don't know about you, if I do have those late shows, I'm gonna have some sort of caffeine, which is terrible to have anytime after lunch.
Yeah.
For sleep. So now you're wired.
Yeah.
Your crappy sleep, and the next day is a brain fog.
It's just a brain fog.
Yeah.
Absolute brain fog. Yeah. And then you got 3 more shows or whatever. And people, it's funny, like people don't think that what we do is actually work. I just got to go up and you got to tell your jokes, and what's the big deal? It is a big deal. It ain't easy, or you'd be doing it.
Even physically, chemically, your adrenaline goes. You got up, down, up, down, up, down for 3 shows. You're spent. Yeah. I've had people after the show. when I don't drink anymore, but when I used to go hang out at the bar and drink, I'm quiet. I'm an introvert. Naturally, I think a lot of comedians are. And I all the time, hey, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm done. I'm that guy that you saw on stage is finished.
Yeah.
Just want to relax and unwind. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, I
Oh,
don't.
I can't stand those comics. I mean, or what, or any entertainer that does that. Um, have you ever met someone first time you meet them, and then they find out you're a comedian? And they go, you don't seem funny."
Yeah,
It's like, well, I'm not on stage. I don't know. You don't seem
yeah,
funny.
yeah. Not to
Well,
me.
not to, yeah.
When they
Okay,
tell
good.
me, I use this all the time. They go, say something funny, and I always go, that shirt looks good on you.
Yeah.
And they get insulted and laugh at the same. Mostly people around them laugh, but yeah, it's very. I hate that. Say something
Yeah.
funny, and then now I placed in a softball league, and they just recently found out I'm a comedian, and I've been playing with them for 2 seasons. I don't show up to the game like, hey, the comedian's here.
Yeah.
So now some of them are like, hey, hey, comedian man, or say, tell us a joke. I'm like, ugh,
Uh,
just
it's
watch.
annoying.
Can I text you a clip maybe?
Yeah. Go on my YouTube. Go on my website. Yeah. And I know that it happens. I think to us a lot
Yeah,
because it tells a joke, right? That's what you do, right? It tells a joke. But I've seen it happen to like on the ship happen to singers where someone goes, "Oh, I loved your show. Would
yeah.
you mind coming over here? My mom's at the dinner table. Would you mind singing a song for her? She didn't get to see your show."
All
Like,
right.
what? What? But they do that to comedians. Get that a lot. Jugglers don't get that. Nobody's going, "Hey, can you
Right.
juggle 5 things?" I have nothing here to juggle. But
Right. Where's your fire
comedians,
sticks? Can you do that on the Lido deck? The fire stick juggle?
it's funny, man. Yeah. Um, and but with comedy, we're always supposed to be so jovial and
Right.
hey, and we're not always like that or like that ever. Sometimes,
Right. We're
why would you
depressed,
bother?
miserable people.
Yeah,
We're
right,
depressed,
exactly.
miserable people.
Yeah, why would you bother me to start working right now?
Right.
You
And
know?
what's that old joke like that? Someone doesn't go, "Hey, I'm a dentist." I'm like, "Oh, can you just take a look at I
Yeah,
got this
yeah.
little thing right here. Let me get a
Would you
light."
mind? Oh, you're a mechanic. Would you come out to my car for a minute? It makes this noise.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
We're at a,
leave this
we're at a,
party
we're at a
right
we
now and go outside and change my oil while you're here.
Yeah, yeah. Could you go under there? Oh, I know, but we do get now. My cousin used to be a mechanic, and years ago, and he had told me that people that he knew who then found out he was a mechanic were suddenly hanging out. Like, hey, would you mind? And it would happen to him a lot.
Wow.
Take a look. My car's pulling to the left. Yeah, take it to a mechanic. Well, you're a mechanic, right? Yeah, but I'm not. And so
Yeah.
he never told anybody he was a mechanic because people were hanging with him.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but enough where it got. Oh, now I know why you're inviting me over for dinner. I got you.
I have a new plan to circumvent this, I think. And I told my girlfriend about it. I'm going to test it on Thanksgiving because I'm going over to her family's house. What I plan on doing is everybody that I talk to at this party, I'm going to, if it comes up, tell them I do something different for a living.
Okay.
So I will say, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I own a bunch of broccoli farms in Mexico and I import them, whatever. And then the next person, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, I sell mini refrigerators to college dormitories, and so that so as time goes on, it'll get back to my girlfriend and be like, your boyfriend says he's a broccoli farmer, but then my husband talked to him. He
Yeah.
said he was, and then she's gonna come back to me like, could you stop
Oh,
doing that?
that's so funny though.
Yeah, it'll be fun for me because I don't want to, I'm not a social person.
Yeah.
So it'll be something for me to do.
Yeah. And have a little backup. Like if they ask you where are the broccoli farms? Oh, we're down in Chihuahua. We're down by Chihuahua there, and I've
Yeah.
got about 10,000 acres. And ironically, I employ Americans to to uh,
Right,
to
right.
do the harvesting, whatever. Yeah,
We
I think
call
that'd
it
be fun.
patriotic broccoli.
Patriotic broccoli. Yeah. See, that's interesting because I understand that what we do is way out of the norm
Of
for
course.
most people, way out of the norm.
Yeah.
And when we hang out with comedians, well, then that's normal because
Yeah.
we're all doing it. or entertainers. We all took that path.
Yeah.
But in the real world,
Yeah.
it's up. What? People, you can do that?
Because we
And
because we're soaking everything in and we're quiet.
yeah,
We need to get the material. Just we need to soak in our environment and the nuances and little why that happened, how'd that happen, and then so we're not on. And they're like, "You do that really?" So they
yeah.
go, "You still doing your little comedy skits?"
Oh, when they say skit, I want to snap.
Yeah.
When they say, what's your skit about? Like, oh God, oh God. Okay. I'll be
Yeah.
nice. You're somebody's sister, but whatever. I'll be nice.
Right.
But I'm just telling you, go on YouTube. You can see it. Well, tell me, do something for me now.
Right.
No. You know
Well,
what? Years ago, Danny, when I was starting out early on, I don't remember which comedian told me this. I wish I could remember. But um, there were two pieces of advice I got. Well, one real good piece of advice. And he said, remember, you're a comedian, not a clown.
right.
There you go. Don't be a clown.
Yeah.
Don't be a clown. You're a comedian, not a clown. And then the other advice was when you're a comedian, you're either on stage or in the way. So try to stay out of the way. Well, because they'll remember that. The waitress, whatever, the owner, what are you doing standing there? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. So you're either on stage or in the way, but you're a comedian, not a clown. And I thought that was valuable.
Yeah. I heard one comic go to somebody, is there a slit right here behind my ear? And they're like, no. And they're like, oh, that's typically where you put the quarters in. I'm not a comedy jukebox lady. Let's move on.
Ah, ah,
She was mad.
yeah. Well, people get, I don't know what it is, if it's always been this way, but people will often get mad at comedians.
Mhm.
Like, I think if you're, and I'm not making it sound like it's easy, I think if you're a singer and you have a voice, I mean, credit to them, they could sing. I can't sing. So I'm not,
Right.
and you go out and you sing some songs everybody knows, you're going to get, people are going to appreciate it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
get it right. Um, uh, with comedy, man, if people aren't digging you, they're not digging you.
yeah.
And then it almost becomes personal or something.
Yeah,
I don't know
because
what it is, but
that's because you're up there for so long. They have this, like, they develop this relationship with you, whether they like you or not. And if they don't, it's really hard to get out. And I don't think a lot of people understand. Like, if you're a musician and you miss a beat, you miss a note, no one notices. You miss a joke or a punchline, whoever's there, everyone notices.
everyone notices.
And I think with comedians and singers, it's like they almost have to like everything you talked about on stage to like you. But singers can just be a good singer and sing whatever the song they want. And they're like, oh, I love that singer. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Very, very weird. And I think too, and my girlfriend made this point. She makes a lot of good points. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Yeah.
Uh, as a non-comedy person, a commoner, I call her, regular folk. She's a regular folk. She goes, look, a lot of times it's like, whereas an audience member, we're excited to meet you, so we really don't know what to say. So it's like, tell me a joke, or I like this when you said that, or so the stuff that we find irritating, she goes, a lot of times they just want to be around and they don't know what to say.
Right.
So I kind of try to take a step back sometimes when the audience comes up and says, I just kind of take it in. And, oh, thank you. No, all my jokes are out. I'm all done. I'm all done with the jokes or whatever.
Oh yeah. I'll get that on the ship sometimes because you're on the ship with the people.
Yeah.
So, I can't sit in my room 24/7. So if I go out to get something to eat or whatever the case is, guaranteed, I'll see somebody. And most people are wonderful, like the show, all that stuff. And every once in a while, you get someone who just wants to really talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're holding your plate of food that's now cold or whatever the case is. And they'll also try to tell you jokes a lot of times.
Oh yeah, you can use this in your act. I read it on the internet.
Yeah, I read this one on the end. You can use it. Oh, great, thanks. And
You know what you could tell them? You could tell them, look, I'm not allowed to repeat jokes on any one of my shows. So if I do tell you a joke as you requested, I'm gonna have to throw you overboard. So I don't get reported.
Yeah, just between us, just so you know. Yeah, so that happens a lot too. But most of the time they're just curious about
Yeah.
what we do. Like, I know specifically, even at clubs, but specifically on the ships, that I'll get questions like, "So you get paid to do this? They pay you?"
It's yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah. Oh, so do they give you like, do you get the room and all that for free? Like, well, it's technically part of my pay,
Right.
but how else do they have me here?
Right.
We're in the middle of an ocean.
It's part of my court ordered time that I have to
Yeah.
serve.
Or now did they pay for your flights and all that? I go, wow, yes. I thought, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they get me here. Otherwise I couldn't
Some are
do it.
bold enough to ask how much you get paid.
I don't ever answer that.
No, because sometimes it's great. Sometimes for not I'm not talking about ships, but for me,
Yeah,
sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's not so great. And by the
yeah,
way, it's then how much you make a year. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think some people are curious to know, like, how much they spent on their, let's say, their vacation, and how much of that went to us.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I think
that
too,
was,
they want to know it. They want to know, is it really something you can do for a living? Is this
yeah,
really a
yeah,
viable
yeah.
career option? I don't know.
I've had people ask me how much you make, and I go, you know what? My grandmother didn't say a whole lot, but when she spoke, you paid attention. And she, like, one thing she always said to me was, religion, politics, and money.
Yeah.
Stay away from it. And because even if you meet somebody like, religion, politics, that you're completely in simpatico with, you agree with everything they say, I
Right.
don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to talk about it. It's just
Yeah.
nothing to do with whether I agree. And when it comes to money, because they go, "Wow, you hear how much money they make?" Okay, what I tell people too is, because you tell people you work on a cruise ship. Oh my God, that's great. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's fun. I would love a job like that. I'm like, well, you can get a job like that on a cruise ship. Do you sing? Do you dance? Do you tell jokes? Do you juggle? Do you do magic? No. Okay. Well, then you get a job on a cruise ship. Do you wait tables? Do you tend bar? Do you
Right.
clean rooms? I mean, it's work, man. And like, they think that just because you're on a cruise ship, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I'm working. So my mindset is not vacation mode.
Yeah.
Not to sound unappreciative, because it's the exact opposite. But like, I'll say to people, yeah, but I worked a long, excuse me, a long time in this business to get to where I can do these shows.
Yeah. And
I
to
said,
just to get a joke to work is a lot of work. That reminds me of a clip of an interview I saw. And it took me a long time in comedy to treat it like a job. I did a little bit too much partying, a little bit too much not taking it seriously. You're at work when you're at work preparing your set, preset, the pre-show ritual. But I saw a clip of Tom Brady talking to CJ Stroud, the quarterback for the Texans. He's a rookie, doing great.
right,
And he said, CJ's question to Tom was, as I gain more and more success, because he's having a killer season, and I got a lot more people around me, how do you keep a level head? And Brady said something very similar to what we just talked about. He goes, this is what you need to do. You are at work. When every Sunday and every practice, you are at work. You are not the source of anyone's entertainment when you're there, but obviously it's different for comedy. But you
right.
are not there to be the financial supporter, to be the big. You're at quarterback. You need to study the playbook, and you're at work. This is a job, even though they're coming to the stadium and the game because it's a party and it's this and that.
Right.
Similar thing. Take it
Yeah,
seriously.
it is. I think people that treat it as a job, like, if you did have a job where your boss said to you, by the end of this month, I need you to have 10 minutes of material that works.
Original material.
But yeah, original. Like, if you went to a job and that was it,
Right.
and that's where you got your paycheck, you'd be writing.
Yeah.
No matter what, you'd be writing something down, trying it that night. Okay, now I got to try the night. How does that? Okay, that work. Okay, good. That's 50. That's one joke, but it's 50. Okay, and it's your job. It doesn't mean that you're not having a good time at it,
And
but it's
then
really got to be a job. It's got to be a thing where you say, every single week, month, whatever it is, I have a certain amount of new material.
Yeah. And it goes back to your podcast, New Bits. I mean,
Yeah.
so not only do you spend all this time writing, a good chunk of it will never be used.
Mhm.
A good chunk
Right.
of your hours of writing and trying it will never be used again or never make it to the stage. You have to find the gold in your writing,
Right.
you know?
Right. And I think, like we have enough experience that we can kind of figure out, what, this sounds really good. I think this is going to work. I know how to approach it, say it in my voice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have something and you just go, it just doesn't ring. I don't see it working. So
Yeah.
maybe we don't use some stuff, but if you're not writing, it's like working out. If you don't work out, you're out of shape. So
Right.
if you're not writing, you're out of shape.
For sure. For
You
sure.
got to be doing it.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I don't want to keep you. We've been on for a bit. I love it. I could talk comedy with you all night.
Oh, me too. Anytime.
And but look, the people can see your special on Dry Bar and on YouTube. Everything hurts. Your social media is what's
It's gregvac.com, GREGVAC.com.
very smart not putting the whole name in the website.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. And
Because
all my Instagram and all that is there.
I always, when I first met you, I wanted to pronounce it Vaccariello, Riello, or
Yeah.
Rello, or I don't know.
The real way to say it is Vaccariello.
Mm,
The way we've always said it is Vaccariello.
okay.
But it's so funny you say that because a lot of times, like, the cruise directors on the ships, they're so busy. They're doing all the activities and
Right.
events, and they introduce every show. Sometimes there's multiple shows going on in different theaters. Their heads are all over the place, and they'll look at my last name and go, how do you say that? And I'll say Vaccarello. Like, oh, I was saying Vaccariello. I go, that's fine too. Say whatever, you know. So what I've learned though is it really puts stress on some of these people because they're literally maybe just meeting me. I may never have worked with some of these people.
Yeah.
It's possible. So what I do now, I get my email from the ship, tell me when my shows are, how's the billing, everything look good, and then I'll get back to them and say, tell the cruise director, just say Greg Vac.
Yeah.
And then because they're usually in on that email, 9 times out of 10, I get an email back from the cruise director. Thank you, because it's just so difficult. I do a joke on my name anyway, so it's fine
Yeah.
if they say Greg Vac.
Yeah.
It's just easier for them.
And
And
it goes. I got a piece of advice that way too late in my comedy career that be easy to work with. It goes along with staying out of the way in the comedy club of the staff.
Yeah,
Be easy to work, be low maintenance. And I don't know that I've always been that way. I know I haven't. Trying to be.
that's a good piece of advice. Be easy to work with, because if you were booking a show, Danny, were booking a show, right? And you got to get 4 comics.
Yeah.
And your reputation a little bit on the line here. You want to put together a good show
Yeah.
for these people, right? But you also want to make sure that those comedians go in there and represent you.
Right.
Okay. And if they walk in, they go, "Oh, the mic was supposed to have a 6-inch stage. It's only 5.5."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. Just read the contract. It says 6-inch. I mean, be easy to work with. It's a great piece of advice. That doesn't mean be a pushover.
Yeah.
Make their life as simple as possible. Then go out on stage and do your job. You got to be funny.
Sometimes
But
bookers will come to you, at the venue and be like, "Oh, the such and such football game's on. I wonder if we should push the show back 15 minutes." And I'll go, "What makes it easiest for you? I'll do whatever you'd like. I'll go on now. I'll go on after, And they're like, "Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Whatever you need."
Yeah.
I did a private show recently at a golf and country club, and they were like, they just served dessert. I'm not quite sure. And I'm like, all right, what would make this night go more smooth? She's like, well, if we started the comedy in 10 minutes rather than 20. And I'm like, I'm ready. They're like, oh, thank goodness. I always wasn't like that. I wish I was. But okay, we're getting off track. I can talk to you.
Buddy.
But look, it's gregvac.com. Everything Hurts is the Dry Bar special. You can catch clips of him on all over TV, on YouTube and reruns. Man, it was really a pleasure having you. And
thanks, Danny.
Catch up soon, man.
I hope so. Good talking to you, bud.
Thanks, brother.